guy that I sit next to in studio who was fired by Florida, 5-4, 3-3 in SEC. Think about, but let's dive into that for a second. Think about if you are Dan Mullen, whose worst recruiting class is still better than the current best, yet he was told that he didn't like to recruit. He had some quarterback issues, and Anthony Richardson already getting hurt. So you're told you're not good enough. We're going to bring someone in better. And then this is what Florida's putting out there. Again, I really like Billy Napier. But sometimes you just look at what's going on and you got to wonder, like, Florida, a la Texas A&M, shouldn't be in the position where they're trying to build something ever.
Yeah, as much as we talked about A&M earlier, Florida is a bigger job. I mean, it is a blue blood in college football. And I heard this from the most famous Florida player ever yesterday. And he said the concern going into that game, it wasn't about wins and losses. It was about holding on to a really good recruiting class. And they have a really good, their top 3 or 4 recruiting class going into that game. But when a game like that happens, the negativity starts to mushroom. And this is around the point a couple of years ago where Dan was let go. I think it was after it was a week from now after the Missouri game. And Scott Strickland, the AD down there, is all in on Billy Napier. But the problem is the statistics just are insanely bad for him, as I'm sure you've seen many, many times. And his situation is different than Jimbo's. But because, I mean, Jimbo's a bigger name. I mean,
Jimbo's had 7 years.
I mean, Billy Napier came from a smaller school where he did well, and everybody said we got the better coach than Brian Kelly. Remember? I mean, you talk about a quagmire. Florida is in a quagmire right now, trying to figure out what to do. Do they hold on? Do they hold the rope? Do they say all the right things when, quite frankly, the fans are looking at Billy Napier and going, "Man, what's with this guy?"
Yeah, and I think you've heard my stance on this before, and I'll say it again publicly. I think you should never, ever, ever, barring scandal or anything like that, you should never get rid of a coach after 3 years, ever, or before 3 years, ever. Year 1, you're trying to figure out what the last guy did, and you're trying to build your foundation. Year 2, you're trying to do a little bit of roster turnover, bring your guys in and recruit. Year 3 should be the year that you should see significant improvement. If by year 3 it's not taking, then it may never take. And I've always gone on saying 4 years. You will know after 4 years if you've got the right coach. It's it. 4 years is that's when you're going to know. And if it's not showing progress by year 3, then year 4 doesn't get any better than it's time to cut.
I think you're fundamentally correct on that, but in the world of ever changing rosters, it makes people a little more anxious. And I think Napier will survive because he's got support. And maybe he should have. I don't know. I don't know what the people at Florida know. But I know what fans know, and they're fed up. And I think the misery index right now in my little world, it will be interesting to measure the Napier misery versus the Jimbo Fisher misery.
Yeah, that's a good one. And look, and I'll say this: if people in Gainesville want a little hope this morning, I'm going to give you some hope. Just look up left in the Panhandle at Tallahassee, and the patience they gave Mike Norvell. This is year 4 for Norvell, and barring any catastrophic upset or just weird stuff around the college football playoff, they're going to be undefeated. They'll likely win the ACC championship and punch their ticket to a playoff. So sometimes patience isn't the worst thing because people wanted Norvell out of there immediately. And now, in my mind, he's got one of the more talented rosters in college football, even if they did struggle a little bit against Pitt yesterday without their 2-star receivers. So we weren't let down. First weekend of November provided us so many storylines that then it has me all giddies. We have 3 more weeks of this because chaos is coming in college football. For Paul Finebaum, I'm Matt Barrie. Thanks for watching our recap here on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel.
Give me something.